Hello, viewers. It's Cynthia Michael from Screen Review, bringing you my 704 podcast. This is my 704 podcast. Like always, I'm going to speak very loudly, very clearly, and very slowly in case you don't understand me. Also, I try to do my best not to preach hard during this audio podcast recordings, during this audio podcast recording as well, not to cause any audio feedback as well. And also, if you're under 18, this audio podcast recording will change to adult language. Once again, if you're under 18, this audio podcast recording will change to adult language if you're under 18. Now, if you're over 18, then you have to watch this audio podcast recording. Now, with this and everything else out the way, let's get into the topic. Recently over the week, we had finally got a poster for the new season of King of the Hill, for the new King of the Hill revival series. So basically, a lot of people, a lot of people and fans of King of the Hill started to have their predictions based off this poster for the new season. So basically, this is just my predictions. This is just my predictions. This is just my prediction. What's going to happen in the new season of King of the Hill, based off this trailer and what I wanted to see. I mean, based off this poster and what I wanted to see in this in this new King of the Hill revival series. So anyway, as we know, we see the based off the posters, we see we see Dale Boomhauer, we see Dale Boomhauer and Bill seem like they're embracing the technology, except for Hank, of course. So we see the gang in the alley, standing in the alley, drinking beer, but we see Dale, Bill, and Boomhauer, basically embracing new technology, except for Hank. So basically, with the based off of what the poster is telling us, that that we're gonna have some episodes with so we're gonna have some episodes where Dale, Bill, and Bullhauer are are basically getting used to the modern age, while Hank is and while Hank is like is trying to keep him trying not trying to be current with the current times, whatnot, but struggling to deal with the current times, with this new internet, with this new current in the current era, in the high tech era that we are in. So basically, what I got to say, we're probably going to get an episode with Bill and Buhara, doing online dating. So basically, we would probably in the first season, we probably will get an episode with Boo and with Dale and Bill, trying online dating in this current time. Basically, we'll get an episode because Dale, I mean, with Bill and Bullhauer, Bullhauer being a playboy bachelor, and Dale desperately, him desperately need human companionship. Most likely we're going to get an episode of Bill and Bullhauer, doing online dating. So basically, as for Dale, most likely we're gonna get an episode or some episode featuring Dale, him Dale being a conspiracy nut, we're gonna probably see an episode of him, basically spreading his conspiracy, his government conspiracy theories on the internet and whatnot. So basically, we will get an episode with Dale, you know, using the current internet, to do a podcast about government conspiracies and whatnot, on the internet. So basically, most likely, we will see Dale doing, having, doing, basically doing, doing a conspiracy podcast on the internet, or and also talking about how technology, how the or talking about how technology is being used by the government to, talk about current technology, about current technology being used by the government to control people and whatnot. So basically, we will might see an episode after we might see an episode, we might see a few episodes with Dale talking about, him having a podcast, about about his crazy government experience, talking about aliens, et cetera, et cetera, and also talking about how technology is, how certain technology is controlling us or something like that. As for Hank, most likely Hank is going to probably going to have a difficult time with with that high tech era that they're in. So basically, we're gonna see we most likely going to see the episodes, but Hank is like, dealing with trying to work his smartphones, dealing with the high tech pace and whatnot. So basically, we're gonna see Hank, basically struggled to keep himself, technologically challenged and whatnot. So basically, we're gonna see Hank struggle to understand, certain technology that is being used and whatnot, and also. And also, most likely, we're gonna see Peggy, trying to be current with the technology as well. Unlike Hank, she will probably get she will probably get used, get updated as well. And basically, me and I see Hank struggle to, to keep up with the current technology and whatnot, at the current times and whatnot. And probably most likely we were probably some new characters as well. So basically, most likely the neighborhood that in the neighborhood that Hank and the gang live at might become, we might see some gentrification in this neighborhood. So basically, we might see some new people come in who who are very high tech people and whatnot. So basically, we will probably get most likely we probably will get a new neighbor who's a who who's very who's very in the high tech scene and whatnot. So basically, moving in, see some gender. We might see some gentrification going on in the neighborhood that Hank and the gang lives at. So basically, we might see some trees and whatnot. Whatever. We might see some, like, see the neighborhood change a little bit, and, more trees and whatnot, etc., etc. And also we might get a few episodes for Bobby. So basically, Bobby, we might get an episode with Bobby, like, Bobby, by Bobby, we might get an episode with Bobby, regretting that he didn't pursue his comedy. Now he's a popular chef. So basically, I like to see the transition to, like, Bobby. From the picture, we see Bobby. Bobby is a chef. It seems like he's owning his own restaurant, according to the picture that we see of. So basically, we just want to see that, we might get some flashback of Bobby to, trying to do his comedy career, and basically, we might see how Bobby gave up on his comedy career to become a chef. So basically, we might get a few flashbacks about, we see Bobby, trying to be a comic and whatnot, but it didn't really work out. Instead, he ended up becoming a chef instead. So basically, we might get a few flashbacks back, and also we might get a few episodes, of what the current status about Joseph and Con Jr. and whatnot. So basically, I want to see what's going on with Joseph, what Joseph's doing now. Does Joseph know the truth about John Wetcomb being his father? If so, I'd like to see that happen. So basically, you know, throughout the original one of the series, John Redcorn was sleeping, most of the series, John Redcorn was sleeping with Nancy, Dale's wife, and basically Nancy had John Redcorn, had ended up got pregnant by John Redcorn, and therefore that she gave birth to Joseph, and basically Dale being a bit of a dimwit, conspiracy dimwit, didn't really put two together that Dale still didn't. So basically, by now, if they're gonna continue that ongoing gag that Dale doesn't know, Dale is still dim with it. It's too dim with it with the truth that that Joseph is not his son, it's John Redcorn's son, and John Walker has been sleeping with Nancy most of the time that they were married and whatnot. So anyway, so basically, I'm hoping that we will get a clear answer about that. Like, do Joseph knows that that everybody does Joseph knows that Joseph should be an adult right now, so probably the same age as Bobby. So basically, does Joseph knows about John Redcorn being his father, and also about his sister, about his half sister who lived, who lived with John Redcorn, and we know that John Redcorn had another child with another woman that he got married to in the original one of the series and whatnot. So basically, I'm hoping that we will get some answers about that, about Joseph, that Joseph knows the truth about John Redcorn being his father, and also about his half sister and whatnot. And also, I would like to see what's going on with Connie. So basically, Connie, I like to see what's going on with Connie. So basically, what type, is she? If she's if she still has some things for Bobby and whatnot, it's a chance between adult Connie and adult Bobby to get back together again. I like to see something like that happen in this in this revival series. We know that this revival series is going to have 2 seasons to it. Made a 2 season deal and whatnot. But we just have to wait and see. And also, I like to see, I like to see what's going on. I like to see what's going on with Nancy. Did Nancy ever tell Dale? Well, Nancy will ever tell Dale about John Redcorn? Did Nancy ever tell Joseph about John Redcorn being his father and whatnot? And also, I know that the actress who played Luann had been dead for a while, but I hope that we will get to see, we'll get to it's not it's not been clear that are we gonna get to see Luann in this revival series or not. So basically, I hope that we get a mention that where's Lucky about Luann and Lucky and the daughter and whatnot. So basically, I hope you get to see Luann's daughter. That she had a Lucky and whatnot, and also I like to see Hank interact with his brothers. So basically, Hank has two brothers. He's the oldest brother out of his two brothers. So basically, I think his Japanese brother. I like to see they didn't really did anything much with Hank's Japanese brother during the original series. During the original series, so basically, I like to see, I like to see if Hank keeping in touch with his brother from Japan. I like to see what type of relationship he has with his young brother, Good Hank. So basically, Cotton did have Hank does have a younger brother named Good Hank. So basically, I like to see how Good Hank turns out. What type of relationship that he had with Good Hank and whatnot. So basically, all I want to see is basically we're gonna see some episodes. What the gang did with the current times, with the technology and whatnot. Some of them will thrive, some of them will struggle in the current era, in the current technology era that we're in and whatnot. And also, it's Nancy told about I hoping to see Joseph again. The Joseph knows about John Wetcorn being his father and about his half sister that Nancy told Joseph about John Wetcorn being his father, and also about his half sister as well. I like to see how Connie turned out to be. I like to see if Connie still it's adult it's a Connie still has feelings towards Bobby now the adults now. So basically, I like to see that. I want to see how Bobby, it went from wanting to be a comic to a chef. So basically, that's why I'm hoping to see, and also hoping to see Luann and Lucky's daughter Joy. I believe that's her name. Yeah, I believe that's the name of Lucky and Luann's daughter. Name is Joy. So basically, I like to see how Joy turned out. I like to see how Good Hank's younger brother, Good Hank, turns out as well. And also, most likely, me might see some. We gonna see. Most likely, we gonna Hank is probably gonna get some new neighbors who are very who are basically like technologically, basically, who are basically, use technology in their lives and whatnot, especially doing their jobs and whatnot. So basically, most likely, most likely, we're going to get a new character to add to Hank's gang, who is basically a technology nerd and whatnot, added to Hank and the guy's gang in this new King of the Hill series. So anyway, this is just my predictions. What what what's going to happen in this new King of the Hill series? So anyway, what do you guys think should happen in this new King of the Hill series? Please let me know in the comments below this podcast. Anyway, signing off on Screen Reviews. One.